भारत के देशवासी भारत के देशवासी सुंदर सुभूमि भैया भारत के देशवासी मोरे प्राण बसे हिम खोहरे बटोहिया मोरे प्राण बसे हिम खोहरे बटोहिया
सुंदर सुभूमि भैया भारत के देशवासी
मोरे प्राण बसे हिम खोहरे बटोहिया
मोरे प्राण बसे हिम खोहरे बटोहिया
एक द्वार घेरे रामा हिम कोतवाल वासी एक द्वार घेरे रामा
एक द्वार घेरे रामा हिम कोतवाल वासे तीन द्वार सिंधु गहरावे रे बटोहिया
तीन द्वार सिंधु गहरावे रे बटोहिया
जाहू जाहू भैया रे बटोही हिंद देखी आऊ
जाहू जाहू भैया रे
जाहू जाहू भैया रे बटोही हिंद देखी आऊ
जहाँ सुख झूले धान खेत रे बटोहिया
जहाँ सुख झूले धान खेत रे बटोहिया सुंदर सुभूमि भैया भारत के देशवासी
मोरे प्राण बसे हिम खोरे बटोहिया
Your son
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to CoHNA Dialogues. I am Sudha Jagannathan. I am a volunteer and on the board of directors of Coalition of Hindus of North America. We are a grassroots advocacy organization standing for to fight or help with any issues that the Hindu diaspora faces today in Canada and North America. The song you just heard is the Batohia song in Bhojpuri, and it is a song written and sung in honor of indentured laborers who had to leave India under various circumstances. And so today we have a panel of guests who will be talking about the journey of their ancestors. So with that, I want to introduce you to a panel we have, but just a word before that about CoHNA, Coalition of Hindus. Please check us out at CoHNA.org and on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram handles. Like us and look at today's event particularly. We have put out some stories. I think you'll enjoy those. And with that, let me introduce you to our esteemed panel. We have Dr. Kumar Mahabir ji from Trinidad and Tobago. We also have Pundit Roopnarine, Robbie from same country. We have Sri Satish from Suriname. It's Satish Seb Govind. That's his full name. It's from Suriname. And we have Hemwatie Totaram from Guyana. So we'll go with these speakers one after the other. But before that, I'm going to put some questions out to the audience. Who is the oldest Indian diaspora in the world? If you know the answer, put it in the comment section. And how did the Hindus find their way to islands and lands so far away from their motherland, Bharat? That is something we should ponder today as we listen to our speakers. The next question is, Did you know that Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname have had presidents of Hindu faith? I mean, we should be celebrating all of this. And the other question I have is, who in the world has not heard of the Nobel Prize winner, Sri V.S. Naipaul? Um, these are great, I mean, it's a story of a journey. Talk about an Ayana from India to the Caribbean. So today, with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Kumar Mahabir, and he is again from Trinidad and Tobago. And he teaches cultural anthropology at the university in the Caribbean. He's a former assistant professor at the University of Trinidad and Tobago. He obtained his PhD in anthropology from the University of Florida. As a doctoral student, he won a Florida Caribbean Institute Award, a Curtis Wilgus Grant, and an Organization of American States Fellowship. He's also the author of 12 books on Indian Caribbean identity to date. First, welcome, and let me do my pranams to a family from far away. Thank you for joining us and reconnecting as a global Hindu family. With that, Dr. Kumarji, go ahead and tell us, enlighten us about the history of the Hindu Caribbean community.
Namaste, Sudhaji. Thank you, and thank to CoHNA for giving us this opportunity from the Caribbean. A lot of people don't know that we exist. They think that the Caribbean is made up mainly of people of African descent, and even if they know that they are Indians in the Caribbean, they think that all of us are Christians. So can I get the slides up, please? Right. So I am just going to give a brief overview of the on this topic. It's an overview of Caribbean Hindus. I generally speak about Indians rather than Hindus, but today I am going to be more focused. We came here since 1838, a long time ago. We were the first group of, or first wave of Hindus and Indians to leave India. Over 500,000 Indians were transported as indentured laborers to the British, French, Dutch, and Danish colonies in the Caribbean. So there are Indians who are English speaking like me, some who are French speaking, some who are Dutch speaking, right? It's a variety. And they came mainly from the regions in North India, mainly Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Some came from South India, but majority came from North India. I have some statistics here to show the number of Hindus and Indians who came. When Indians arrived in 1845 in Trinidad, 85 of the Indians were Hindus, 14% were Muslims, and 1% Christian. What is the case today? Now, the number of Hindus have been reduced to 40%, largely by conversion. Sometimes by choice, sometimes they were seduced or influenced to convert, and sometimes they had to convert out of necessity. So today, Hindus constitute 18% of the population, a population of 1.3 million. So you can see it's a declining. The number of Hindus is never increasing since we came to the Caribbean. You can see the statistics there from 1845, 85% to 2011, 40%. Go to my next slide. And I often hear up to today people saying, Hindus saying that Sanatan Dharma is eternal. That's the literal meaning of it. It will never die. But look at the case of the smaller islands in the Caribbean, where you had a smaller number of Indians. In St. Lucia, Grenada, Belize, St. Vincent, hundreds of Hindus came. Not a single Hindu is left in these islands, in St. Kitts, in Nevis, St. Croix. Not a single Hindu. If you find Hindus there, they are migrants. They have come from neighboring Trinidad or Guyana, or maybe they are from India who have come to do trade. So I did a survey. This is students in my class where I taught, because nobody else has statistics. Everybody is making assumptions. And when I did this, I did a survey of the religious affiliation of 60 Indian students. Indian. Out of these 60 Indian students, you can see, again, some are Hindus, some are evangelists, some are Muslims, and of various faith. These are pictures of the students I surveyed, but look at 80% 80%, 60%, and 40%. So if you see 10 Indians, we call ourselves Indians, where if you see 10 Indians walking down the road, only 4 of them are Hindus. That was not so when the Indians arrived in 1845 in Trinidad, but 1838 in Guyana. But that was the downside. The upside, we have had tremendous achievements. We have Diwali as a public holiday in Trinidad, in Guyana, in Suriname. We have Diwali Nagar, which is a theme park. Nothing like this in the world. It's unique creation. We have big Diwali celebration in Suriname as well. Pundit is going to talk about that. And in Guyana, we have this procession of floats, the most beautiful the world has ever seen. There is nothing like that. And everybody in the world should visit Suriname for Diwali. And you are going to see this illuminated floats being in procession for miles on the road. Other accomplishments, we have had Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who traced her roots to India, and there's a documentary on YouTube on that. We had Basdev Pandey, Trinidad and Tobago. We had Bharat Jagdev in Guyana, and I forgot to put Cherry Jagan also in Guyana, and we have Santoki Chandrika in Suriname. So people in high places. Right. So we have Hindu schools in Trinidad, Guyana, and Suriname. But the Hindu schools in Trinidad are unique. Why? The government pays to construct these schools. The government pays the teaching staff, the teachers, as well as the auxiliary staff. In other places, other countries, other than Trinidad and Tobago, you have Hindu schools, but they are private schools. In this one, in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, the government pays the government pays the teachers and the staff, but the schools are managed by Hindus, and also you have Presbyterians and Muslims as well. So it's not really preferential treatment to Hindus. We have a lot of radio stations, particularly in Suriname, Hindu radio stations. In Guyana, you have Hindu radio stations and TV stations. In Trinidad, you have a lot of Indian stations. So they play bhajan, kasida, and so on, celebrate Eid al-Fitr and everything tracing from our Indian ancestry. But what is lacking, we don't have a paper. It is so easy now, it is so cheap for us to have a Hindu paper, a Indo-Caribbean paper. I have formed a Hindu chat on WhatsApp, but that is almost taken over by the Hindus from India. And that is good, but we have our own peculiar issues that we want to address. So we need desperately a Hindu digital paper, daily paper, in which we can express our concerns. We suffered tremendously during COVID as Hindus because open air cremation was banned by the government. Although there was nothing in the World Health Organization regulation stating that it should be banned. In fact, WHO said, yes, it's legitimate. It's not a health hazard. And we took the government to court on this. We lost. We went right up to the Privy Council. We lost the case because the Privy Council ruled that the government knows best, right? But it's a political government that is spiteful to Hindus, that discriminates against Hindus. It's an Afro-Christian government. So, I question that ruling. And we have a battle on our hands, many battles. At the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago, there is a BA program in Christian theology, but none in Hindu theology. And all taxpayers are paying for this degree. All taxpayers. I have approached a lot of Hindu groups and organizations and temples that let's take up this fight. None of them has pursued it. And I'm glad that CoHNA is coming on board and we are going to take action to write a letter stating that this is discrimination. How can you use taxpayers' money to fund only Christian theology and not Muslim theology or not Hindu theology? And so I have a lot to say, but I reserve that for the Q&A. I just want to say that I pay tribute to Sat Maharaj, this man on the left with the mukdar. He has been a lion. This is my last slide. A lion. He has passed away sadly. He was the voice of Hindus and Indians. People loved him. Muslims loved him. Christians loved him because he was fearless. And on the right is our lawyer, Anand Ramlogan, who is the only lawyer that I know out of the thousands of Hindu lawyers in the Caribbean. He's the only one who takes pro bono cases and he fights on the behalf of Hindus and all those people who are poor and powerless. So tribute to him. I can do RT for him. He is such a good soul. And this is my last slide. Thank you very much. And my name and address is there, those who want to contact me.
So thank you for that, Kumarji. I think this is the beginning of a conversation and a dialogue, right? So we'll continue to work together. I see that the challenges you're facing are not different from the challenges the Hindu community is facing in India and abroad. And I think as a world community, we can hopefully kind of figure out how to sustain and continue our Dharma and faith and culture, because it's unique. It's unique. There's nothing like this in the world. So with that, let me go to our next guest, and that is Sri Satish Govind. And Satish ji, please talk us about the Hindus in Suriname.
Yes, thank you very much. As Dr. Mahabir has pointed out in his statistics, it's sort of the same for Suriname, the history. There was this attack also because it was very Christian-centric. There were way back missionaries wanting to convert everyone, but somehow they failed because with the talk I had noticed with many people here, with all the people who knew back then what happened when our ancestors came, is that they were relentless. They never gave up, right? So what happened is that they were stigmatized even by saying you guys are coolies. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that word, sort of to shame the whole cultural identity and the whole race basically, because it was very much based on the slave owners wanting to convert the Africans who came here, to convert them into Christians, and then the same template they wanted to put on the people who came from Asia, right? Like the Indonesians, which we call Javanese people because they came from a city called Java. So Javanese people, and then you have the Chinese who came. So basically, the part of Asia, and then the Indians. Our grandparents, the ancestors came. So what happened? They wanted to stigmatize, wanted to convert them. A lot of conversion did happen, but somehow, somewhere, then this Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha Suriname started around 1918 or something, and then they started creating Hindu schools as well. And then there was this upward increase in, again, finding their cultural identity. In Suriname, I would say we have established in the past 40 to 50 years, I would say even from the line of my father and his father, we have established a strong foothold as a community to show that, okay, this is our cultural identity and this is what we do, this is how we present ourselves, which partially is the reason why Diwali has become a national holiday in Suriname. As Dr. Kumar also pointed out, is very big. But then again, we have to understand what are the reasons why this has become so big, right? And that is, I think nothing happens just like that. There's a reason why I speak today instead of Pundit meeting, because so somehow I'm here to share with you something very significant. Something very significant. So what is that significance? Is this? If you may research on Google, there's this organization called Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangha, which is a promotion of the Hindu culture as well, but on a very grassroots level. That spread out throughout the world, where everywhere where there's Indian diaspora. And the whole idea was conceptualized to have a big diya on our in front of our national palace, was conceived by the people who were in this organization, and I was part of it in the making of the diya and the whole process and the whole organization around it. I was there, right? So what we see is that young people can be inspired to pick up their community and their cultural identity and everything. They can do it, but they need to be inspired. And that inspiration, I have to admit, does not come from just only Pandit speaking or only the mandirs being there. It comes from reaching out to the youth in their classrooms, right? In their classrooms, they are being sought to give sessions where they are seen as, whoa, we are not, inferior. We have to be proud of this, because the significance of Hindu culture is as such. It is eternal, Sanatan Dharma, and it is universal. It is Dharma for anyone. It's like how the sun shines for anyone, whoever you are, it is there, right? So people, and another nice example is why in Suriname we have this strong foothold and we have this community where everyone respects each other, is because I have seen that even if it's Christians, right? At the end of the day, you're human and you have questions. And then I have this particular experience as well. I was teaching the culture, the traditions, the religion, Hindu religion on a Hindu school. And of course, as Dr. Kumar also pointed out, it was not, the preference was only to Hindu children. Anyone could come there, but it's a Hindu school, so they know. Then what I saw is that different people from racial backgrounds and religious backgrounds, they were so interested in my sessions, because I had only a session of 45 minutes a week for all the classes. I had 215 students. I spoke to them individually. And what was really peculiar was that each one of them, maybe two or three not, but I can guarantee 200 plus students were really interested and intrigued almost by the way I presented the Hindu culture, the way I presented Sanatan Dharma. And a very interesting anecdote I always share with people is that I had non-Hindus, right? Non-Indians asking me about, for example, so, sir, what is the thing about reincarnation? Can you explain that to us? Can you explain this to us? And I, what I also did was to show them, listen, we are based on, dividing. We are used to dividing. You're American, you're from Trinidad, Guyana, you're Hindu, Christian, Muslim, right? But the idea of Sanatan Dharma is finding the common ground between any being. And I'm not saying humans only, even animals and plants, right? So that's, if you study the Shastras and the whole Hindu scriptures, and you will see that this concept of Sanatan Dharma is not particularly focused on those who were in the area of Bharat, right? The geographic area. It was not about a particular geographical area. Oh, this is ours, this is this. they always talked in terms of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, right? Because we breathe the same air. So that's when they feel inspired, because people deep down in their soul know we are one, but they want that confirmation. And if you keep getting this sort of divisive nature or divisive language in your mandir or temple or masjid or whoever church, wherever you go, they feel like they should go away, right? So in that sense, inspiration about what it really is, talking about what it really is, answering the questions of the children, of the youth of today, will allow us to flourish as a community, because we are not putting the other down, we are just expressing what we have in store. See the difference? So this is what we can do, what we can continue to do, because here with Pandit Nitin, he's now the chairman of Sanatana Dharma Mahasabha, and he has done something we always talked about, is having pracharaks. Not particularly the Pandit who does the ritual, but also people who are sort of a bridge between those young people who can be inspired and say, oh no, let me at least pick up the Bhagavad Gita, for example, right? Let me at least in my neighborhood, in my village or town, start satsangs or something, right? That only works based on inspiration. And we are doing some good work here based on that particular aspect, that listen, we have um, a vast ocean of knowledge to share, right? I joked always with Pandit Nitin as well. I said, in Hindu Dharma, we have left nothing untouched in Sanatan Dharma, right? So from food, sleep, sex to the highest, what we consider as the most basic is also given attention to. Like if it's food and health, it's Ayurveda is there, right? If it's anything regarding your marriage and your partner, Folk Shastra or Kam Sutra is there, right? So everything, even if it's your house, Vastu Shastra is there. Even if it's mathematics, right? There's so much vast knowledge available. I would even encourage everyone listening to go on YouTube and see there's this particular guy from India whom I have also interacted with. He has a channel, the Sanskrit channel, and he started with just 5,000 subscribers, 10,000. Now he has 300,000 or something. I saw his growth, and I told him, listen, this is really needed now because it's based on inspiration. So the only threat I can tell you right now for the Caribbean, for Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, everyone here will be distraction. It's not even that the others want to convert, because that's not happening as much as I could observe here in Suriname, because we had those times where these people came door to door, and the dedication and the commitment is something you have to praise about these people, whether it's the Jehovah's people or the Christians. They want to spread their message. If you look at from a lens of spreading the right message, they are doing a better job than the ones who are sitting still, right? So for our Hindu community, if we feel like that is a threat, then we should look back at ourselves. What are we not doing right? And here in Suriname, again, I have to say, Pandit Nitin, what we are doing together is we are making sure that the message should be spread, but also in such a way that you don't lose grip over the interest of the people who are now bombarded with all these inputs through social media and all these platforms and everything, right? So in that same breath, I also offered to Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha, hey, look, your social media is not in such a way presented that a girl of or a boy of 10 years, 12 years, 15 years will search for answers on your channel or your whatever you have, whatever platform, right? Because it's not presented right. So me being from a marketing agency as well, I offered to do this for free. I said, see, this is also seva, this is also good work to prevent the challenge of the decline of Hindu community and the Hindus. Let's just make the bridge better, and then anyone, not even people who are without a Hindu background, they can come and see and and feel like, whoa, this is a universal truth. So my only message would be, I think my time is over. My only message would be, let's have this done in a pragmatic way. Let's of course, as CoHNA is doing, bringing everyone together. I am available through email and WhatsApp. I have enough experience on the grassroots levels, teaching, conducting programs, designing curricula, right? So what I want to do is with everyone today is share with you that, see, Sanatan Dharma, first of all, is eternal. Don't ever think it will suddenly go away or diminish or whatever. Nature has its cycles, ups and downs, but one thing we should understand is the sun will always shine, right? Whether it's stormy or not. So, what our efforts should be is, are we maintaining the proper actual message of all the people, the whole lineage of masters, rishis, sadhus, everyone who came, even from Krishna to Ram or whoever came, the itihasa part, the shruti, smriti, shastras, Vedas, whatever knowledge is available now, are we maintaining it in such a way that, of course, every one of us in the Hindu community is at least presenting it to their children, to their relatives, to their friends, right? Wherever you are working, are you talking about it? Are you mentioning it, right? So it starts here. It starts with these simple actions. And now, if we have a platform like CoHNA, or in Suriname, we have Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. I'm not familiar if there's one in Guyana or Trinidad, an institute like this. But if there is, then we can just share the template, and then we can see how people will, sort of feel inspired and come to you.
You are absolutely right. And one other thing I would say, Satish ji, is that you are a young person. You actually would relate better to young people than someone like me, like an auntie or an uncle. So
I will tell you a good point you're making, and yet I have seen people not young like me connecting with young people, because, see, once
yeah,
you speak their language, you have them,
yeah,
right? If you speak their language, so that's what we are doing now. That's what the whole pracharak course, what Pandit Nitin has devised, is
yeah.
teaching. And it's not only for young people; it's for everyone. But you can become a pracharak. I have seen people 50 above, 40 above. They did the pracharak course. We can send you a picture. And see, the thing is, nobody was ever granted this manual of, like, how teachers are given at schools, when you do your whole course of how to teach. They were not granted this. Pandits only knew the rituals, the mantras, the knowledge, and then somehow the barrier and the gap became bigger and bigger and bigger, until, for example, here in Suriname, I heard youth saying, hey, that guy is speaking in Sanskrit, I don't understand him. Obviously, you're not getting to the youth, right?
Mhm.
So, from my personal experience, I would like to end with this, is that recently in Navratri, April, I had again the honor to sit on the Singhasan and speak about the Devis, and every Devi, every night, right? And then I am telling you, there were youth from 8 years, 10 years, 12, 14, 16, 18, and then even the older people, 30, 40. They all came to ask questions because they were so interested. So now there is this thing, there must be something that is happening, right? That is something happening to show me, okay, so this is the template. Let me share this with others.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I think there are opportunities for us to partner, because of Navaratri and Diwali, we in the United
Perfect.
States and Canada, we are starting to celebrate in big visible ways. And maybe we can, one of the Navaratri days, we can collaborate with you, So I think that would be a good option. So thank you so much. And we'll come back to the questions in the chat, in the comment section at the end of the show. And I know I did not do a good job of introducing the Satish ji here. He learned everything about being a Sanatani under the tutelage of his father, a Pundit too. And he works as a counselor for the youth and business consultant. He mentioned the marketing agency, and he himself is a singer and a musician. So thank you for that. And I think we'll go to Guyana. We are going to move to Guyana and Hemwatie Totaram. Let me introduce her. She's an administrative assistant at a rehabilitation and reintegration center within the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security of Guyana. She is the president of the Blairmont Hindu Youth Organization, assistant secretary of the Blairmont Humanitarian Organization. And one would think that that's enough to keep her busy. No, she is also a student working towards her undergraduate degree in commerce and management accounting. So thank you so much, Hemwatie ji. Tell us about the Hindus in Guyana.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Okay. And thank you for the opportunity to enlighten you guys on Hindus in Guyana. I'll be presenting on the history, some challenges, some achievements, and also mention how the global community can help. The history of Hindus in Guyana begins with the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which was followed by a period of compulsory apprenticeship until 1838. As anticipated by the sugar planters, they soon lost more than half of their workforce as newly emancipated Africans moved off the sugar plantations to become small landowners and form their own villages. Left with a void of subjugated labor that would deliver the disciplined and time-bound completion of tasks demanded by the sugarcane cultivation and harvesting, the planters turned to India, from where the laborers had been shipped to Mauritius as indentured laborers since 1834. The indentured contract demanded they work under specified conditions for specified hours and days for 5 years, after which they were entitled to return to India. Indians in both North and South India, many of whom were experiencing high levels of unemployment, poverty, and famine, were targeted by professional recruiting agents. Promised greater opportunities and lucrative employment, about 239,000 Indians were lured and imported to Guyana from 1838 to 1917 as indentured laborers and servants. 30% were to return to India. There were 84% Hindus and 14% were Muslims. The South Indians, called the Madrasis in Guyana, were primarily Hindus who worshipped Mariamma as the Divine Mother. The North Indians were dominated by Bhojpuri speakers with the Ramcharitamanas as their primary source of religious worship. The policy of the British in Guyana was to Christianize those Indians and effectively stamp out their Hindu faith. They did this by sponsoring Christian missionaries throughout the indentureship period, and all their schools were run by Christian denominations that demanded conversion by those who graduated and wanted to become teachers. The British made it difficult for the laborers to form a unified community by sequestering them and limiting their movement from one plantation to another. However, this didn't stop the Indians from practicing their religion. While today there are halls and mandirs, temples in Guyana that allow for more extravagant yajnas, Guyana's earlier Hindu generations were starved of the ingredients to perform these ceremonies as opulently as they would have liked. In the official records, 2 mandirs were noted by a visiting British commissioner in 1870, but it is certain that there would have been others even earlier made of wattle and wood, and they were early dwellings of the plantation called lojis or barracks. The practices of Hinduism, especially the 16 samskars, were observed by the indentures and performed by individuals who had brought the knowledge of the rites with them. The efforts to preserve such traditions thus did not go in vain. For as the indentureship program ended in 1917 and Guyana gained its independence in 1966. There were Arya missionaries who visited in 1910, 1929, 1937, and 1955. The Bharatiya Seva Sangha was formed in 1955. In the early indentured period, Christian attempts at conversion met with little success, in large part because the Indians, who very much identified as Hindu, had every intention of returning to India after making and saving money in the foreign land. Most Indians, however, opted to stay in Guyana after they completed their indentureship. Thus, the passing of time eroded much of the characteristics that informed the community's Hindu identity under constant pressures of social, cultural, governmental, and educational pressures. Some of the challenges that are faced by the Hindus in Guyana. Despite the fact that Hindus have, for a long time, been able to practice their religion freely, Hinduism has been in decline for several decades. Christian conversion is perhaps the single most critical reason for this sad state of affairs, as the Hindus have been specifically targeted by the Christian evangelical movement, especially from the United States. Today, every Indian village had two or more Christian churches that use handouts and other sly means to harvest Hindu souls. Most Indo-Guyanese, for example, have lost all fluency of Hindi and other South Asian languages, and instead they speak Creolese dialect of English. This has played a role in the community not being conversant with the tenets of Hindu ideas and practices that would allow them to counter the Christian onslaught. Hinduism in Guyana became Mandir-centric, as Hindus imitated the Christians for their one day off from the plantation on Sundays to conduct congregational worship. The Purohit who performed the Hindu rituals was transformed into a Pundit in imitation of the Christian priest who gave a weekly sermon. However, unlike the Christian priest, there are no central institutions to train these Pandits to deal with the myriad pressure that confront the Hindu socially and otherwise. According to the World Life Expectancy.com, Guyana is the country with the highest suicide rate per capita in the world, with the majority of the suicide committed by those of Hindu descent. Poverty, alcohol abuse, family dysfunction, interpersonal violence, and lack of mental health resources, problems particularly prevalent in the rural areas, are among many reasons for this statistic. Christian missionaries thus target the rural areas where they believe the Hindus are most vulnerable. Hindus dwindled from 43% of Guyana's population to 28% as of the 2012 census. Some of the achievements. The greatest achievements of Hindus in Guyana has been to hold on its core belief against all odds and present a vision to the troubled plural society of the six people where the unity in diversity can permit all of us to live in dignity. The old model of forcing everyone to assimilate into one has failed all over the world. Hinduism succeeded in embedding itself the fabric of Guyanese culture. Hindu temples were erected along the country's coastal landscape as the food, dress, and music of the Guyana's Hindu heritage also prevailed. Guyana's Hindu priests and lay leaders have gone above and beyond in preserving the country's Hindu faith, even without the external resources of the Christian missions. Besides conducting the yajnas, which are still a thriving activities, they also act as a spiritual guide and gurus, working tirelessly to make sure their local communities are fixed in their faith as possible. The formal education system in Guyana, the Kovan John Ashram, Saraswati Vidyaniketan, the ISKCON Hare Krishna temples, and we should consider how many Hindu leaders have come out of these institutions. In order for Guyana's Hindu community to prosper, it cannot be left on its own. The greater Hindu world must become aware of the challenges faced by Guyana's Hindu population, which craves recognition, connection, and assistance. Hindus in Guyana hence welcome Hindus from other parts of the world to come and see for themselves the form of Hinduism that still exists in the country and lend help in efforts towards opposing conversion. All the sabas at the level playing ground and have annual competitions. But not all the mandirs and communities have the same resources to prepare for such.
Hey, thank you so much, Hemwatie ji. I think that was very eye-opening. I think definitely the global Hindu community should come together to work in support of each other. There's a lot for us to learn. And we'll take the questions. There are some very interesting questions in the comment section. We'll take that after we finish the overview. So, Pundit, Roopnarine, Seenath, Robbie ji, can you please talk to us about the Hindus in Trinidad and Tobago? Oh, I just want to say he also is has a bachelor's in education from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. He's a math teacher in school, and he runs a counseling hotline in the country called the Hindu Prayer Hotline. And he considers himself a Hindu worker on the ground. See, we can learn a lot from you, Robbie ji. We don't have a Hindu prayer hotline in the US. Maybe we can start something with your help. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first I want to bring greetings by saying Totaram, because this is what Hindus say in Trinidad. We may say Namaste and Namaskar, but because of our experience of leaving India and coming to Trinidad, where Trinidad was seen as like, you know, when Lord Ram went in the forest, Kishkinda forest, we greet each other in Trinidad by saying Sitaram. And that's quite unique for our Caribbean Hindu experience. I don't want to repeat the statistics that were brought across by Dr. Kumar, but a lot of my talk is also based on it, based on the 2011 census, where we are still the largest ethnic group as Indians, but as Hindus, we have been declining. Although a lot of people would practice Hinduism in some manner, but don't identify as being Hindus. And that is, it's good too, but it's also alarming, because there has to be a reason why we are ashamed, or people feel it's difficult to say I'm a Hindu, or I'm practicing some form of Hinduism. I'll talk more as we go along with these slides. I don't want to go off on any tangents. I'll stick to the slides. All right. We in Trinidad and Tobago, we have many different Hindu groups, Hindu sects, and many organizations that are international. In Trinidad and Tobago, the two major types of Hindus we have will be the Sanatanists and the Arya Samajis. We have small amounts of Kabir Panth. Within recent years, we have had Chinmaya Mission, which is very international. They came and set up schools and ashrams. And we have the Ganapati Sachidananda Ashram. We have the ISKCON, the Hare Krishna movement. And recently with Sadhguru, we have Isha, which is an organization that is quite it's the latest of the organizations to attract a following in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have the Brahma Kumaris, which these organizations such as the ISKCON and the Brahma Kumaris, sometimes they don't identify as being Hindu, but I still include them because to an outsider that is not Indian, they see them as Hindu. This is something that is we also have the Blue Star, which is a local Swami called Sri Vasudev that attracts a lot of people from Eastern Europe that is here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the Blue Star. He's quite popular. He's more popular in Eastern Europe than in Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have the Satya Sai Baba organization, which has what you call satsang groups in many communities, although they identify as a spiritual organization and not as Hindu organization. And even though we have a lot of Hindus converting and a lot of people that attended mandirs, we have this new aspect of the Hindu society, or the Trinidad society, of having Shakti temples, or temples where they worship Mother Kali or Mother Durga or many other forms of the deity, female deity, in every village coming up. Some are not accepted by traditional Hindus because they use meat, or their form of worship is not traditional to the Trinidad Sanatanist way. But they have been attracting a lot of people who come and they participate in the mandir, and they may or may not identify as Hindu, but these mandirs are filled compared to a normal Sanatanist mandir, where it's basically empty on a Sunday. It's you have like 5 or 10. Some mandirs might be filled, but it's all based on personality, the guru, and not necessarily somebody coming to learn about Hinduism or want to know about the religion, but rather being attracted to a personality, a guru. All right. We have many mandirs. I'll show you a couple of them in later slides. And the mandirs act as pilgrimage sites. We have if people may go to the mandir as a tourist attraction, and these will be like non-Hindus. As a teacher, I have had students in secondary school who has never attended, Hindus who have never attended a mandir, right? They're like 18 years, 19 years, and they've never been to a mandir. This is because, and I'll tell you the main reason is because they would say, well, my father and mother said we went to the mandir and it had what you call controversy. Trinidad we call it bacchanal, or it's or some sort of confusion, and they decide to not send their children to the mandir anymore, and they're robbing their own children of the experience, of the Hindu experience in a mandir. Weddings are quite popular in the temples. Weddings are quite popular, although it's controversial because traditional Hinduism doesn't allow meat or any sort of alcohol. So although they may go to a mandir, we have a prevalence of alcohol being consumed, not in the mandir, but very close to it. And it seems to be encouraging. Weddings seems to encourage the alcohol consumption, and that is something very worrying, because alcoholism is a big problem among the East Indian and Hindu men in society, and children. I mean, as a teacher, you would find children intoxicated, Indian children intoxicated on a regular basis in school, and they say it's because of culture and religion. All right, this is an example of the Dattatreya Mandir and the 85 feet, the tallest Hanuman Murti in the, I believe, in the Western world. All right, it's located in central Trinidad. It's a beautiful mandir. It's a South Indian design, and the Hanuman Murti, it's really, really wonderful for anybody coming to Trinidad. This is something I would like them to come and visit and be inspired by the beauty of this Hanuman Murti. Really, really nice. This is the temple in the sea. It's also an inspiration for people to know that as Hindus, we were discriminated against. And a guy by the name of Pundit Sivadas Sadhu, he wasn't allowed to build a mandir. It was being broken down by the authorities, the Christian authorities, and he decided that the sea doesn't belong to anyone, and he would take buckets of soil and cement and formed a structure into the ocean, and then it was rebuilt later on. But he did a yeoman service to have a mandir built in the ocean. And it is a wonder of the world. It was celebrated in India as something. So if you come and see the Hanuman Murti in Trinidad, you should come and see the temple in the sea. They're not too far from each other, and it's wonderful to see this. We have had people have broken into the mandir many times. Because of social media, the sentiments of the Hindus are being more expressed about how they are hurt, because there is hypocrisy. If, let's say, a church or a mosque is desecrated, there's a big uproar. And with Hindu desecration, there used to be sidelined. People never used to think much about it. But because of social media, Facebook especially, and even TikTok, we're seeing a lot of sentiments are being expressed by Hindus. And this is causing the national community and to join in our sentiments, because this mandir, always in the temple in the sea, it's a national treasure. It's a historical artifact. It was broken into, it's desecrated many times, and each time Hindus have offered a voice. Recently, we've had a temple being desecrated, where the people that desecrated the mandir came into the mandir and they took the parasad pots and they cooked beef. They cooked beef in the mandir. So it wasn't about just somebody coming in to destroy the murtis or to steal. It was to make a point across that we should just come in with beef. They came in with their own corned beef in cans, and they cooked it in the parasad pots, which in Trinidad, we don't even put salt in the parasad pot. We don't even cook with salt. There's a special pot that we make the prasada or the mohan bhog, as we call it in Trinidad. So this is something, at one hand it's sad, but it's also waking up the Hindus to being aware of their Dharma, respect to that. I spoke to many friends, and they told me that they eat beef, but now they'll think twice about eating beef, because the desecration using the beef opened up the eyes to the fact that Hindus not supposed to eat beef, and therefore the people who did that knew that more than them. The perpetrators knew that Hindus don't eat beef, so they brought the beef to desecrate. And the Hindus were shocked to know that, then, if I'm eating beef myself, it's a desecration. Because 99% or maybe 90% of Hindus in Trinidad eat meat. They may not eat beef, or they may, but it's definitely they will fast. We would fast in Trinidad. If you have to do a puja, people will fast for 21 days. Around Diwali, around Navratri, people will fast. But they eat meat otherwise. But this incident with the beef eating in the mandir, desecration, it has woken up the national community towards beef being something that a Hindu would not eat. So it ended up being something more, I would say personally, more positive than negative. I'll continue on here. This is a Triveni mandir, wonderful mandir as well in Williamsville in Trinidad. And this, I couldn't really show all the mandirs. I just wanted to show a few that I found to be very beautiful. All right. This is some statistics here with the population. This was interesting. Dr. Kumar didn't mention this, but reading the statistics like this, the highest population, or the population in 1990, was 292,786. And 20 years later, there's a 16% drop to 240,000. This is a percentage drop. Even though the population is increasing, it is a significant drop. And one of the reasons, as was mentioned, the Pentecostal churches in particular, they build these churches in communities, and they create this sort of rift, and they bring this sort of philosophy, and that puts people in a sort of frame of mind to be more. It's like you're preaching division. This is what it is, as opposed to preaching love, because they claim it's love, but they preach division, and it's something. It's very strange, though, that people know more about what is not Christianity than what it is. So they'll tell you definitely, well, Hindu things are not Christianity and you shouldn't be involved in it. Conversion by marriage. And conversion takes place via mixed race marriages, right? Interreligious marriages and mixed race marriages are one of the reasons that people convert. Islam in particular, if you marry a Muslim, you would convert. This is something that has been traditionally done in Trinidad. Recently, it has not been so significant, but it's still happening. During the COVID-19, in my community and a couple of neighboring villages, where there were these miracle churches, the pastors have died because of the COVID-19. And this has caused a sort of rethinking of, if I can help myself, I can help you, sort of thing, and that is something that's quite significant. And people are thinking more, because if you look at when COVID-19 took place, all the miracle preaching on TV stopped. It just stopped. They were curing everything except COVID. All right. So this is something that is noticed by a lot of people in society. And people are expressing their views, as I said, on apps like TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp. And as mentioned before, Hindus are able to express their sentiments on these apps without any fear. All right. As was mentioned by other speakers, Diwali is a big thing in the Caribbean. Again, with the whole, when I tell you Sitaram, we identify with Sita, we identify with Ram, and Diwali to us is more of Rama returning to Ayodhya, and this is something that's big in the country. Anybody would tell you that around Diwali time, we have to take part in sweets or programs in communities. Although particularly in recent times, this is interesting. This happened recently. Afro communities would eat roti. They eat Indian food, and it may not be vegetarian, but they'll want to have some roti, something with Indian, for Diwali. Recently on social media, someone promoted the eating of meat with the roti, and it was the opinion of the people were totally against that. So social media is playing a great role in expressing Hindu sentiments. And I'm not seeing any change happening right now, but at least sentiments have been recorded, and that goes a long way. So whenever there's a transgression, it's coming out in social media, and ordinary Hindus are able to express their sentiments. So I'm seeing this as a positive. Even though the change is very small, it is seen as a positive, where the ordinary Hindu could express themselves. All right, so this is the signs I have up. This is one of the signs. I just took a picture of it. This is the hotline here. All right. And I get a lot of calls. I try my best. I've tried to get other people involved in it, but it's anonymous. I don't trying to just give people advice and listen to them. There is no financial remuneration. I don't receive any money from this. It's something that I'm doing voluntarily. I've tried to get other people involved, but it's really difficult to listen to the problems of the people. What I see it as some sort of data collection. On my personal way, I've a lot of calls come from non-Hindus call, and again they want to know about Hinduism. They see Indians and Hindus as rich and wealthy and intellectual people, and they want to know how to become like us. This is what they ask on the Hindu prayer hotline. And so it's a good way to gather data and to find out exactly, because there's only so much calls, and there's only so much I can advertise. So if this is something that we can launch in other countries, it's something that is quite nice. And I know that Guyana is sorry for saying this, but from statistics, I hear that Guyana is the suicide capital of the world. I mean, we have it here in Trinidad, especially among East Indian people. And I've asked Guyanese friends to probably share the hotline with somebody on that side, or somebody do something like it. Because I am RSS, HSS trained. I see my sister there is also in HSS. So I am that's my sister organization as well. So it's something we could start as well in different
It's very impressive what you are doing. I know this is a one-man show, the Hindu prayer hotline, but the fact that people are calling to find out how do I become as successful as the Caribbean. I mean, that's a very good start for a good conversation, right? I mean, in the US and Canada too, our colleagues and co-workers who are non-Indian, they would say, what are you feeding your children? How are they doing so well in school? So I think these are all opportunities for us to build conversations. So Roopji, Robbie ji, I just want to make sure, is this your last slide and can we go to questions? Because
I've got a couple more, right? I'll just go through it quickly. It won't take long, right? Let me just go quickly. All right. And this is something we did in the Monday. We did this for the COVID. Triple H fight. 3 H's, Hanuman, Hawan, and hygiene. Something we did. And one of the problems, as I said, the success Hindus and Indians in Trinidad are number one with education. And because of this request, I do an adult free exam. It's like where's the equivalent to what they have in the States. They have these exams here. It's like a free tutoring I do as well for the public. All right. This is an example here of a response. This was put up in the community. It's a crusade, and it's like Jesus is coming soon. And the reply, this was up another time, but one of the replies was Hanuman is here already. It was nice, and people responded well to that. A lot of feedback I got with that was quite nice. So they put up the sign, the crusade sign, and then this Hanuman was up here. I had one before with Jesus is here, Hanuman is here already. But this was somebody put up this on their own. I saw it recently. I took a picture from my car. Rain was falling. All right. With the hotline, and this is something with the RIP, rest in peace. And me personally, and abortion is an issue that I like to talk about. And with the rest in peace, I tell people that the Hindu view is that we don't rest after death. The only time you might rest is when you rest in the mother's womb for that 9 months. And that is the rest you may have as a soul. So therefore, when we say rest in peace, it's not a Hindu thing, but we can apply because I've tried ask people to say Sadgati and not rest in peace, but they still want to say it. So I have to tell them rest in peace for Hindus could mean that you go into the mother's womb and you rest for 9 months. And therefore, we are totally against abortion. So we have to tackle social issues. The LGBTQ, a lot of people get calls from this because the Christian and the Muslim communities are totally against this sector of society, but the Hindu view, Hindu groups have tried to put up workshops. We are not against it, and we have that's a very important topic to talk about as well, how Hindus are accepting people of all different sexualities. And this thing with the J is a Hindu letter. There's no word in the Bible originally. It was J. J is only introduced into the alphabet, the English alphabet, in 1524. You know, and Ram Sebada Ram Kanam. Ram is the greatest name for God. That's the original name. So, you know, so this is some of the things that we just throw to people, and it's something that makes a big impact with the thinking. You want to get people to think a bit about some of the things that we take for granted that is not really true.
It's very, very interesting how you use language to counter, let's say, you know, like the Jesus is coming and the Hanuman picture. I just love it.
All right. So the last slide here. Hinduism is declining but resilient. We need volunteers to spread. Because as Dr. Kumar said, Sanatana Dharma is eternal, and it could become dead among the Hindus. Even though as I told you all, we have Hindus in the Caribbean and maybe in India that eat meat, but you have these American vegans that respect every animal. So that is but I personally want the Hindus to remain among the Indians and among the Hindus, even though you're manifesting in another part of the world where these foreigners becoming Hindu because they're becoming more dharmic than us. I personally would like to see it remain among the Hindus because when you convert, it's really, really very negative in society. So the Gita says, you know, that he who offers the highest love to me, chapter 18, verse 68 and 69, who preaches the gospel of the Gita will come to me alone among devotees. No one is there in the whole globe. And you see, the globe is mentioned when they thought the world was flat. We're talking about the globe in Gita. You know, Hindus who convert. This is an important chapter. I interpret this as being chapter 1, verse 44, Hindus who have lost their traditions dwell in hell. And this is written in Gita, chapter 1, verse 44, for an indefinite period of time. So I thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward. Please come to Trinidad and let us work together and make a change.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to ask this question of Kumarji. There is a question in the comment section too. How do people from outside come and experience the Hindu life in the Caribbean? I know you had a tour arranged. Is that something you do all the time, every year?
Okay, so it brings me to an issue. I'm saying that we need to come together for support, for awareness, to build collaboration as CoHNA is doing. And we need a digital paper, which is free to set up. We need this Hindu-Caribbean WhatsApp chat group. But we also need a weekly Zoom program dealing with Hindu issues in the Caribbean. So I have been running a Zoom program, but for Indians, because Indian identity, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, we identify with the Indian identity, Indian culture, heritage. I've been running that for 2 years, and out of that grew the need for us to meet together in person. So between the August 4th and 11th, that's next couple of weeks, we have arranged a tour to Indian Trinidad, which includes a lot of Hindu sites. So those who are interested in coming on this tour, I have put my number up, so you can always contact me.
I think we should expand that over time, not like immediately. I think definitely everybody out there, I'm going to ask you to take up Kumarji and Pundit Roopnarine's offer to come and visit the magnificent temples. Magnificent temples. And the Hanuman statue, oh my God. We should actually have a pilgrimage to Trinidad. Maybe there's an opportunity to do same in Suriname and Guyana. You know, one of the things is that it brings tourists. It brings tourist dollars, you know, and that's where cultural exchange also can happen. Tourism is a big way of doing it. Tourism, when I say, it's not just all tourists. I'm just saying the Hindu diaspora tourists, right, coming into the Caribbean, meeting with people like you, understanding how you have protected Dharma, because you have learned survival skills that I think we all need to start to understand. We are facing the same challenges as you, and we might not be as prepared as you are to survive facing the kind of things that are happening in India and in, anywhere abroad. So I think we should continue this. I'm going to take a couple of questions. There was someone who said, how about South Indian contribution to arts culture? And Kumarji, I know online I saw some dances, you know, Bharatnatyam dances. Bharatnatyam is from the south, and I also saw a young man who is doing Aigiri Nandini dance. That was very beautiful. So I believe the South Indian, North Indian, all the dance forms are now becoming popular, right? But you also have taken let's say Bollywood and melded it with the Caribbean, and that's how you have Chutney Soca, right? Yeah. So everyone out there, please check out the amazing Indo-Caribbean music and arts and the temples. I saw the soca bhajan in the temples, you know, the women on drums, and it's just, I think there's a lot to see. We don't understand. When we go to Caribbean, we go lie on a beach. I don't think we need to get any more browner. We should actually be going all around the country, meeting with people like you, coming into your schools, introducing ourselves, maybe talk about who I am as a Hindu, right? And you share how your Hindu life is with me, and go do a puja in the mandir. I think we should all do that. Looking at a couple more questions. So, you know, how do you recommend young Hindus who live in the Caribbean to learn about their culture and traditions? And I think what we heard is that you have Hindu schools paid for by the government in Trinidad. You have Hindu schools that are private in Suriname and Guyana. But we also heard from Hemwatie ji that Guyana needs a lot of help, because, you know, there are rural villages where people don't have the wherewithal, right? And maybe that is where the Hindu diaspora can help. The other thing is, of course, Kumarji mentioned the University of West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago that offer a bachelor's degree in Christianity. why shouldn't the Hindu diaspora write to the university and say, please also offer Hinduism? They are, they have had a long presence in the country. They've contributed. We should also, we should all write letters, build up a case, and help Kumarji to convince the university to open an undergrad degree in Hindu studies. That'll attract more Indian and Hindus from all over. And maybe not Hindus. There are theology studies in the US that everybody takes, right? And sometimes they learn about Hinduism in there. So the same people might go to Trinidad together. So there are lots of areas of collaboration. And I think that was one other question that Gaurav Tyagi ji had. How do we collaborate? And I think it's a longer conversation than today. I think we should keep the doors open, continue to talk, and and see how we can collaborate further. Just trying to see. So the Sunita had a question: what helped the Hindu community in Caribbean become proud and resilient in spite of the persistent attacks? Yeah, I think you mentioned that a little bit in your introduction, Kumarji. Do you want to take that question?
Right. So, we have had fighters and lions and warriors in the personification of Bhade Sagan Maharaj, a powerful Hindu leader, and then he was succeeded by his son-in-law Sat Maharaj, whose photo I showed, and these were voices, fearless people who would come out publicly in the TV, in the radio station, in the newspaper. He had a weekly column in newspaper. He had his own Hindu radio station, and he was fearless. Spoke for Hindus and Indians. He was admired. He passed away, and so recently, a few years ago, and so we remain voiceless and defenseless. There is no Hindu voice again in Trinidad and Tobago. But I want to take a point from Pundit Seenath that the social media is helping us a lot protect our dharma, because people are fighting back, they are pushing back, they are struggling, resisting on social media, Facebook and Twitter and all the other platforms that are available to us.
That was good. To the audience, I'm going to say we are always looking for volunteers. And this is the start of a new initiative to reach out to the global Hindu diaspora, connect, learn, and have some collaborative actions happen. And if you are interested, please go to CoHNA.org, sign up as a volunteer. Let us know if you want to work with us on this initiative, because we need a lot of people helping with this, because we don't want to have this one conversation and then not be in touch with Kumarji or Hemwatie ji or Satish ji or Robbie ji for another 10 years. I mean, what good does that do? Let's continue the conversation, but please, everybody jump in and let's all do it together. That's the only way for Sanatana Dharma to stand proud. I mean, we don't want Hindus committing suicide. I have to say, what is happening in the Caribbean, Hindus are the only community that commit suicide in my part of India. I come from Kerala. In that state, only the Hindus as a family commit suicide, the highest number of suicides. So when it happens in the land of the Hindus, it is not a surprise that it continues to happen in other communities. We should all be pledging that no Hindu goes hungry, no Hindu struggles to pay their medical bills or going to school and getting an education. No Hindu should commit suicide. Can we take that pledge? I'm just throwing it out there. If you want to take that pledge, then join our efforts right now. No excuse.
Can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Before you close, yes. I want to say about the situation in Suriname. Confusion is rampant. Hindus and Indians are discriminated against. And maybe Panditji, who spoke from Suriname, maybe because he's a Pandit, probably he's too close to the trees. When you're too close to the trees, you can't see the forest. And I think that may be responsible for his painting
Optimism.
that kind of picture.
Yeah.
Optimism.
Yeah.
No, I have a lot of, being an academic, I have a lot of running battles with fellow academics in Suriname. And they say everybody's living nice, beautiful, one love, rainbow. The point is, unlike Guyana and Trinidad, the Suriname Indians and Hindus do not complain. They don't say anything. For instance, if you have a headache or a belly ache, and you don't complain, you don't say anything, everybody around you would think, well, everything is fine. And that's the best analogy I can make. They do not complain, they don't fight, they don't write, they don't speak out. So everything is lovey-dovey from the outside. Thank you.
Very good point. So anyway, I think we are about 20 minutes past the time, and I want to thank everyone who joined. And like I said, this is the initiative we are starting to connect with the diaspora around the world. But I think we'll come back to the Hindu-Caribbean community, on various topics, and then also keep everybody posted on CoHNA as to what we are doing together. Because I don't think we want to leave this behind and move on. We want to keep walking together. So with that, I want to thank everyone. And once more, Kumarji and Roopnarine ji and Hemwatie ji and Satish, my pranams to you for having survived and being here to speak about your families, your ancestors' journey. Rama had his journey, Hindu-Caribbeans have had a journey. This is at least many of us are hearing it for the first time, and let's continue it. And thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.